Imagine a company so powerful it dictated how entire cities were built, changing how humans lived, worked, and consumed. A titan possessing the logistical brilliance of Amazon, the physical footprint of Walmart, and the fierce brand loyalty of Apple, all rolled into one juggernaut. For over a century, this empire was practically synonymous with the American dream. When you needed a house, you ordered it from them. When you needed insurance, appliances, or tools to build your life, you gave them your money. Today, that empire is nothing but a graveyard of abandoned mall lots and shattered memories. The mainstream narrative wants you to believe the internet came along and wiped them off the map. They want you to think Amazon was the giant slayer that brought them to their knees. But that is a lie. This colossal entity was not assassinated by an external threat. It committed corporate suicide. This is the untold story of how the greatest retail machine in human history was dismantled from the inside out through boardroom sabotage, toxic greed, and internal incompetence. So staggering, it defies logic. This is the real story of the fall of Sears. Long before the internet was a concept, an agent named Richard Sears started selling watches to clear a shipment. He realized rural America was trapped in a monopoly, forced to buy goods at inflated prices from local general stores. Partnering with Alva Roebuck, and later the brilliant Julius Rosenwald, Sears created something revolutionary: the mail-order catalog. It was the original everything store. It leveled the playing field, allowing a farmer in the middle of nowhere to buy the exact same high-quality merchandise as a millionaire in New York City, at a fraction of the cost. The Sears catalog became the second most read book in American households, trailing only the Bible. By the time they opened their first physical retail stores in the 1920s, they had mastered data collection and targeted marketing. They knew exactly what consumers wanted, where they lived, and what they would spend. As America built out its highway system and moved to the suburbs, Sears was there, anchoring every major shopping mall. They weren't just following trends, they were engineering them. By the 1970s, Sears accounted for a staggering 1% of the entire United States gross domestic product. They were moving so much merchandise and possessed so much power, they built the tallest building in the world, the Sears Tower in Chicago, just to house their administrative staff. But they didn't stop at retail. Sears recognized that to capture a customer forever, you had to own their financial ecosystem. They launched Allstate Insurance, gave the world the Discover credit card, and bought the Dean Witter Reynolds brokerage firm. They essentially became a massive bank wrapped inside a department store. If you were a typical consumer, Sears insured your car, provided the credit card you used for groceries, sold you the Kenmore washing machine to clean your clothes, and armed you with Craftsman tools that came with an absolute lifetime guarantee. They built an impenetrable fortress. No competitor could match their supply chain, brand trust, or sheer capital. But it was exactly within this impenetrable fortress that the seeds of their own destruction were quietly being sown. The first cracks appeared in the 1980s and 90s. Intoxicated by massive profits from their financial services divisions, the Sears Boardroom began viewing retail stores as an afterthought. Retail is a gritty, fast-paced game requiring constant innovation, fresh aesthetics, and a deep connection to shifting cultural tastes. But executives sitting high up in the Sears Tower became completely detached. They stopped investing in store renovations. The physical locations grew tired, dingy, and severely outdated. While nimble competitors like Walmart and Target were aggressively optimizing supply chains and modernizing the shopping experience, Sears coasted on decades-old momentum. Then came the ultimate irony. In 1993, Sears literally discontinued their iconic Big Book catalog. The very foundation of their empire, the direct-to-consumer delivery model that made them famous, was thrown in the trash just years before the dawn of e-commerce. They possessed the exact infrastructure, warehousing, and logistical network needed to dominate the internet age, but they willfully blinded themselves to it. Yet despite this monumental strategic blunder, Sears was still a giant. They were bleeding, but far from dead. What ultimately killed them wasn't a failure to adapt. It was a hostile takeover masked as a rescue mission. Enter Eddie Lampert, a billionaire hedge fund manager who engineered a merger between Kmart and Sears in the early 2000s. Wall Street hailed Lampert as a visionary, comparing him to Warren Buffett. But Lampert wasn't a retailer. He was a financier who saw Sears not as a store, but as a portfolio of distressed assets waiting to be squeezed for every last drop of juice. Instead of pouring money into modernizing stores or building a robust e-commerce platform to fight Amazon, Lampert implemented a toxic management philosophy inspired by Ayn Rand. He divided the company into dozens of autonomous divisions and pitted them against each other in a brutal internal Hunger Games. The apparel division was suddenly competing against the appliance division for resources. Departments were charged internal fees just to use the Sears IT infrastructure or to be featured in weekly circulars. It was absolute chaos. Instead of fighting Walmart and Target, Sears employees were fighting each other. This hyper-competitive structure destroyed whatever collaboration and morale remained. If the appliance division wanted to sell a Kenmore refrigerator, they wouldn't bundle it with a promotional offer from the hardware division because that meant sharing the profit on the spreadsheet. The boardroom sabotage resulted in paralyzed decision-making. Executives began hiding data from one another. In the stores, the reality was even bleaker. Roofs leaked, floors cracked, and shelves sat entirely empty because Lampert refused to allocate capital for basic maintenance. The strategy was entirely parasitic. As the retail operation suffocated, the hedge fund overlords began stripping the copper wiring out of the walls. They systematically sold off the crown jewels to prop up the balance sheet and funnel money back to investors. The legendary Craftsman brand was sold off entirely. Land's End was spun off. Even the real estate itself, the massive portfolio of prime mall locations that Sears owned outright, was sold into a real estate investment trust controlled by Lampert himself. Sears was forced to pay exorbitant rent on the very buildings it used to own. It was a masterclass in calculated wealth extraction. By the time the company dragged itself into bankruptcy court, it was nothing more than a hollowed-out shell. The media gleefully wrote the obituary, declaring that Amazon and the convenience of online shopping had slain another retail dinosaur. But the truth is far more tragic. Sears wasn't murdered by the internet. It was bled dry by internal rot, toxic leadership, and a fatal obsession with financial engineering over fundamental customer experience. They had a massive head start on the future and willingly threw it away. They possessed the loyalty of generations of Americans and completely betrayed it for short-term stock gains. The fall of this 130-year empire stands as the ultimate cautionary tale in modern business. It proves that no matter how vast your resources, how iconic your brand, or how dominant your market share, you are never immune to the consequences of your own hubris. An empire doesn't fall when the barbarians breach the gates. It falls when the people inside the walls forget what they were defending in the first place.